Hey everybody, it's Gary Enerson here. How y'all doing? I hope you had a good week. Welcome to episode number 41 of Gary E. Sketch Cards. And this week I'm trying something a little different. I'm trying something that'll probably get me 2 views throughout the rest of time. This is an original sketch card of an original character that I'm naming Elias Busby. Now, the story behind this particular sketch card is I had an idea for a Western-themed horror comic. I had kind of an idea for it. I may take it into a different direction. I'm not sure yet. But I needed a character. I have 4 characters in mind that I know are going to be part of the story. And this one here is one of the main characters. Elias Busby is sort of a bounty hunter slash drifter slash what have you that kind of travels into this it's not a small town, it's sort of a booming town in Arizona, and some weird stuff goes on and he kind of gets wrapped up in the middle of it. Another one of the characters is Dr. Augustine, and I was going to have that be next week's video, and my camera sort of stopped halfway through the card, so I may have to do one of the other characters. There's going to be a sheriff. Don't have a name for him yet. And there's going to be a hog farmer named Samuel that who is going to be part of the story. So, that neither here nor there, I guess. Let's concentrate here on Elias Busby. Now, as I said, this is sort of an original character. I mean, it is an original character. And this is the first time I've ever really done anything like this. With some kind of goal in mind, if you will. And I'm learning very quickly that, having watched some videos about character creation on YouTube and stuff like that, I'm sort of learning very quickly that you have to come up with characters that are memorable visually as well as storytelling wise. I have a general idea for the story. I don't have it written down. I have scenes in my head, but I wanted to make these characters sort of memorable and distinguishable from all the rest of them, which I think is sort of the fundamental rule of making any original character, if you will. Growing up reading comics, I don't know how many times I would read a comic where it would be difficult to tell one character from the other just because of the drawing style of the artist, the male features were always very chiseled. The female features were, somewhat feminine and, obviously, but they all kind of meshed together. They just kind of threw different color hair and hairstyles on the women and, maybe a beard or a mustache on, the male character. And I kind of drew from that growing up, and I'm like I said, I'm trying to make each character unique, and so this one definitely differs from the Dr. Augustine sketch card that I put together. Augustine has, white sideburns, he has spectacles, and, he's bald. He kind of looks like, in the end, I think he kind of looks like Patrick Stewart, and that wasn't intentional as such. I kind of just threw it onto paper, and that's how it came out. Kind of like I'm doing this one. I picked a few elements from other various means, photo reference, things like that. I wanted the hat to be cool looking. I wanted the handlebar mustache, but I kind of wanted that as I was getting into the drawing. That was sort of a last minute addition. And the bandana that he's wearing, I wanted him to have that. I just sort of looked around online and tried to find, old West photos, if you will. And I picked, like I said, I picked the hat from one. I would pick the bandana from another. And, the face, I kind of just sort of made up and threw down, so to speak. And it's like I said, it's my first crack at it. And, this may not be the actual finished character, but, I thought I would share that with all of you. Now, what's the story going to be about? A little bit of backstory. A couple weeks ago, I was in Old Tucson out in Arizona, which is a sort of settlement, if you will, where they filmed a lot of old school westerns up until I think the early or mid 90s or something like that. And while I was there, I kind of was kicking around the idea of a zombie story in the Old West, like what would happen if a zombie apocalypse happened in the Old West. And like I said, I'm not sure I'm going to go that route. I may or may not, but I don't know. I had a couple other ideas that are just as, I don't know, horrorful, if you will. Horrorful, is that even a word? I don't know. But anyway, and I kind of, tried to picture the scenario happening in the Old West, how it differs from modern day, horror stories, zombie stories, I guess, if you will. Nowadays we have, the machine guns and Kevlar armor and things like that. Whereas back then, the people really only had, revolvers and shotguns and, maybe a, bolt action rifle or something like that, and I thought it would have been, and maybe not so much knowledge about science or anything like that. You know what I mean? So the approach to, a zombie scenario would be a little bit different. If you noticed in my last couple of videos, obviously I'm a big zombie fan, but I've been kind of rethinking the story, and I don't know if that's the way I'm going to go with this book. So, not so much book, maybe a story, maybe like a mini story or something like that. But as I said, it's all in my head right now. I've yet to write any of it down. And so we'll see what happens. But, it may not be the best idea to do something that's, I don't know, just straight up horror as my first attempt at a comic or something like that. I don't know, that would label me or what have you. I mean, this is kind of, I've just recently, like I said, started considering it, having been at Old Tucson and, just sort of looked at the sets and looked at the buildings and everything like that in the street. There was kind of, like I said, this sort of movie scene or two that sort of played in my head, and it just kind of grew out of that. You know what I mean? So I don't know if there's a better story to tell, or I don't want to do a straight up Western as such. But I'd like to kind of add a kind of a horror element to it, but we'll see. I don't know. I figured I would do this, and I would, kind of document it and throw it out there, and maybe somebody can take a look at it and, let me know what you think. I don't know. So anyway, so this is the basic technique that I use for any kind of copicopic sketch card that I do. I usually put the markers down first, and then I go ahead and do the black outlines after the fact. I'll use a thicker ink brush pen to do some of the more darker areas and things like that. But like I said, the handlebar mustache on this guy, this was fun. I mentioned the handlebar mustache. Like I said, it was sort of an afterthought, but I think it kind of works for him in the end, This was really fun to do. This is, like I said, this was my first crack at any kind of like original character kind of thing. And, it in the end, it turned out okay, I think. And, we'll see what happens. But I've always kind of liked some of the more modern Western movies, The Unforgiven, obviously Tombstone. Tombstone is probably one of my top 5, top 10 favorite movies ever. And, Django Unchained was really great, and it's kind of a shame that the Western genre kind of gets lost, you know what I mean? And it's kind of had that sort of mystique for a while as a movie genre. There was a period of time where Westerns were everywhere, and, and then the spaghetti Westerns, obviously with Clint Eastwood and that. Then you had movies, the Sam Peckinpah Westerns and stuff like that, and then, probably around the 80s and, 80s, early 90s or whatever, it kind of went away, and it was a very interesting genre, and I think to do a realistic Western now would be kind of cool. I mean, you had stuff like, it's not realistic, but you had stuff like cowboys and aliens that, you know, I suppose sort of is the same treatment that I have, except it would be like cowboys and zombies or something like that, you know, whatever. And I'm sure it's been done somewhere in comics or in books or in whatever, but the Western genre as a whole, I think, just kind of died out. And like I said, it's kind of a shame, you know, especially if you get into some of the more realistic Westerns and stuff like that. So I don't know. Excuse me. It's just something I'm kicking around. I thought I would throw that out there this week and, you know, kind of run with it. And, you know, if you like the video, you know, let me know. If you like the idea, let me know. If you don't like the idea, let me know. I'm open to, you know, criticism as well as, you know, praise or whatever. So, yeah, this is the Elias Busby sketch card. The final sketch card's a little different. The picture may differ a little bit from the final shot in the video. I kind of had to add a couple of things after I turned the camera off and that. But yeah, there may be more original concept sketches to come in the next few weeks. So be on the lookout for that. As always, thank you so much for watching. And, you know, if you like what you're seeing, let me know. You know, subscribe to my channel if you want to see, you know, more of these videos. You know, check your subscription box from time to time, and these should pop up once a week. I may start putting these out more on Thursday than on Wednesdays now. The way my schedule is kind of altering. I may just have to do that from now on. But also like and share, and you know, yeah, I appreciate all the support that has been coming my way. The channel is a little less than a year old, and the response has been great. So thank you so much again. I appreciate everything that you all are doing. I appreciate the feedback. And this is Elias Busby, an original sketch card, and I will see you next week.